time being 5:01 p.m. March 16th, 2020. I will call the Board of Selectmen for the Town of Freetown to order. We have an abbreviated, a very abbreviated agenda here tonight, George. Do you have it in front of you?
No, it's on the iPad, and I can't see you,
right.
and but I know what it is. So.
All right. Well, the major things that we have is what do you want to do about what do we want to do about town hall and the closing or anything?
It's actually town hall, council on aging, library.
Okay. Yeah, okay. So actually, will be a town hall, council on aging, the libraries.
We have actually shut down activities at the council on aging and at the library in terms of any kind of activities or programs that are currently underway. Town hall, both of those buildings are still open to the public. However, we're not encouraging people to come in unless it's an emergency or that kind of thing. So town hall is completely open. There's no restriction on the public coming in.
Okay. And were we also going to talk about the election?
Yes, we were. Unfortunately, Lisa can't be here tonight. I do have some uncomfortability, if there's such a word, about speaking to it myself. But seeing that we are as we are, I will address it. So I guess the first thing to talk about is the closing of the town buildings, as we have just spoken of. The president and the CDC has advised that no more than 10 people be at a gathering as it is now, and we would definitely have more than 10 employees in town hall at one time. My feeling is that we should close it for 2 weeks, and hopefully things will straighten out, because from what I've read, it's very important that we try everything we can to lessen as much as we can the plane, so to speak, of infection. And I think this is the only way really we're going to do it, is to try to reduce the contact between people. There are people who can work from home, and I think that's what we should do.
The other thing I just want to make mention of, once again, this is a board decision. The board will make their decision based upon whatever factors they determine to be appropriate. But we do have 5 individuals that are in town hall that are in the target group, being 60 years or older, and there is a tiny bit of concern about that. We also have a couple of individuals that are parents and now are struggling to find daycare and to I'm not going to say struggling, because I'm not familiar with their situations so much, but that's another outstanding issue that could potentially needs to be addressed. So it's ultimately a board decision. If the board decides the option is to close town hall down completely, to have people work from home, and to basically reduce all of the town buildings down to essential personnel, that would be a discussion on who would be considered essential personnel. The second option would be, in a lot of towns, I'm not saying that a lot of towns aren't doing this, a lot of towns are doing it, that they are closing town hall but not allowing the public to come in. So
actually, that last option is what I have been thinking of. I've heard some other town halls have done that, is to close the town hall to the public, but allow the people who work there, who have been there in the last few days and weeks, to come in and work and man the phones. That way anyone from the public who really needs something from town hall, they can call. And maybe be taken care of.
We would probably do something like that on an appointment basis. We're
No,
not going to actually, if somebody comes to our door, we're not letting them in unscheduled or unprompted, not knowing specifically, what their medical condition is. We'd want to know up front, if they have been sick or showing any evidence.
David, what I had in mind was not letting the public in at all. They could just call with any issues that they have, and then whoever the person is that they're dealing with can make arrangements to take care of whatever it is. They won't have to wait a week or 2 or 3 to get their issues taken care of.
All right. Okay. There's a whole ancillary part of that, in that, like the building inspector does. The building inspector now go into people's houses to do.
Well, that's a separate issue from the town hall.
There's a plethora of unanswered questions that still need to be addressed. And the other thing is, in terms of meetings, I sent out to the board basically a press release asking people to postpone having meetings for a period of time, and or looking at alternative ways to hold a meeting, such as Zoom or through Google Hangouts or through Microsoft Teams, or some method. As you are aware, the governor basically has said that we could all meet remotely. There's no need for people to come in and be close to each other and potentially spread the virus. So there's a whole other group of issues that are going on behind the scenes that we're working on, in terms of planning, how we're going to do our payroll in the event that the town hall is truly closed at some point, how we're going to answer inquiries, who can work from home, such as the accountant who can do things on Vadar, how's the town clerk going to work, in terms of, we want to actually put a halt to issuing building permits and other permits during this period, only because we don't want to get caught in situations where there's a legal requirement to do, like, for example, a building permit and have so many days to do an inspection. And if that inspection is not done, then...
David, I think you're throwing a lot of issues on the table here.
I am, because we have a lot of issues to deal with. I think
George,
it's not as simple as just saying we're going to close town hall. But.
George, my feeling is that, if people have to wait 2 weeks or so in this extreme situation for a building permit or some type of filing, I have no problem with that. I think we have to.
But those are all issues. Those are side issues. The issue right at hand, I guess, is to, in George's defense, is that whether we keep the building open, whether we close the building entirely, or whether we close the building and require that the town hall employees work. Those are your 3 options. It's up to the board to make a decision.
George, my feeling is that we should close the building entirely. 2 weeks, to close it for 2 weeks. Hopefully, there won't be the spike that some people are fearing, and we go from there. I don't think.
We don't know if.
No, we don't know anything, George. That's the thing. So we have to try to. I think I'd rather err on the caution side here, and people can say what they want, than not do something that is going to come back to harm people in the future. And so that's my feeling. I think there's.
The people in the town hall are already in here. They have been here. Now, if you just close the door and do not allow the public to come in, but allow the public to make phone calls, and a lot of normal business can take place. If you just shut it down, then we shut off any communications with our public.
So
I think that's what we're here for.
How do you control what an employee does after
very
work?
Similar.
George, as David said, we don't know where an employee may get in contact and come into the building with the virus and spread it throughout the whole building. We can't control that. What we can do is control people entering the building, and you know, my real concern, George, is the ability to reduce the spike in new cases. And I think if we, as a country, if we stopped for 2 weeks, you know, we'd see where, you know, it apparently has worked quite well in China, and I think we have to learn from other people and other people's experiences, and I don't see where there would be any harm in closing the building for basically 2 weeks, and then see what happens from there.
Well, I'm taking my cue from the governor. They're keeping City Hall open in Boston, and they're doing basically what I'm suggesting.
So,
And that's my opinion, and I guess we'll have to agree to disagree, Charlie.
All right, but you're not making a decision one way or the other. Charlie's
Yeah.
saying they're going to close it. You're saying keep it
I'm
open.
making a recommendation to let people come to work,
okay,
but
George,
do not
pardon
open
me.
town hall for the public.
Well, in that vein, then, okay, if you want to follow with the governor and so forth, my suggestion would be that, you know, so we don't have to always be, I wouldn't be of the idea that we should follow whatever the state government directs as they direct it. That way, if you know, tonight at 7:00 the governor decides that, you know, he's going to change his views on the information he has, we don't have to come back here and make more decisions. And so, if you're taking your cue from the governor, I would suggest that we go with whatever the public health officials in the Commonwealth say.
Are state employees, are they already working off site? Or?
They were off today and tomorrow, at least.
I don't
And
know.
the governor's comments were yesterday before the CDC
Right.
today
Right.
said that there should be 10 or less people.
Right. So, you know.
And my concern, once again, is like I said, you have a number of people that are over the age of 60 that are in that target population that are more susceptible. You don't know who in the town hall or any town building has an immune deficiency that might cause them to be subject to, you know, getting the more severe form of the virus. I'm okay with whatever you do at this point. If that's what you choose to do, I'm okay with that. We'll just move forward, but there are a whole bunch of ancillary decisions that are going to have to be made sooner rather than later, in terms of the declaration of a emergency declaration, so that we're in line to get federal and state funds if and when they become available. The decision of what we're going to do in terms of having people continue to have meetings, what we're going to do in terms of this board meeting and other boards meeting in terms of remote participation. There's a whole group of issues, but I'm not sure at this point how those issues are going to get addressed. So I'll be honest with you, I'm a little bit concerned about that, but you know, I guess it'll be for another day.
KP Law this afternoon did send out another e-news update on how we should post if they are going to have meetings, how they should post it. So as to say, not to invite people and stuff. How
Yeah,
the
they're telling
meeting
you not
notices
to.
should be done. So there's a bunch more stuff. I mean, there's so much reading. There's so many.
We're
things
getting
that keep coming out.
bombarded by information, honestly.
So, George, I make a motion that we follow the directives of the governor in how and when agencies or employment sites are open. And if he decides
Close state agencies.
to close state agencies, that we close town hall.
So basically, what we'll follow is what state agencies are doing. If state agencies close totally, we will close town hall totally. Is that what you're saying?
That's what I'm saying, yes.
But if town halls and state agency offices in Boston or wherever, if they stay open, we will stay open. And does that mean you will want to let the public into the town hall?
No.
Or not?
No.
Nobody's letting anybody into the town hall. I would say
Okay.
90% of the town halls, with the outlier here and there, are actually letting people into their town hall. Nobody, it's if there is a situation, the town hall is closed to the public. 90% of the town halls are like that.
90% of them are how?
Have at least closed to the public,
Okay, but staffed.
yes.
There are some that have made the decision, such as Plimpton, Easton, just two off the top of my head, that have closed entirely.
And
Okay, so
all state,
if I understood this correctly,
all state emergency branches were closed today and will be closed tomorrow and might be closed further.
Idle Records in Boston was closed yet today and is closed tomorrow too.
So what both Jackie and Derek are saying, that the information they have, non-essential state agencies closed as of today.
They were closed today and they're
Today.
scheduled to be closed tomorrow.
Today and tomorrow, and you know, I
so
would.
that's okay. But that's non-essential. I don't know what the definition of that is. Are we essential or not? That's a good question.
Well, that's going to be a question here too.
Yeah.
You know, who
Exactly.
is an
That's
essential personnel?
I-
I would say your police. I would say your fire. I would say your EMTs, your dispatchers.
You know, maybe to some extent, highway would come under that.
Or they'd be available on a call basis.
Well,
Same thing with water, sewer, call
Personally,
basis.
right now, Charlie, I would not feel comfortable voting on this. I think I'd like to do some more research tomorrow and see really where the rest of the
All
state
right,
is.
George, I don't know if you understand. This is an emergency. This is the worst emergency we've had in a generation. And to say you want to study more, I just don't get it. Okay, I think we have to react. We have to react. Okay, and I don't see where it's in. You know, we're putting this off for maybe 2 weeks. Okay, and
No,
see.
Charlie,
what-
what
they
I'm
even-
saying is, I had my recommendation.
They're closing
We don't
down
agree.
stores.
I
they're
think the
closing
town hall
restaurants,
should be
they're closing
closed to the public. And that would keep the employees, quote unquote, safe. You know, every stores are open, restaurants
They're
are
closing
open.
stores, though,
Yeah,
Chuck.
We're dealing with
grocery
people
stores are open.
everywhere.
Well, yes,
grocery
grocery
stores
stores.
is
Grocery
gonna
stores were Mark. Grocery stores are open
Apple,
in
Nike,
in Italy. Okay,
uh,
that's
yeah.
it. But other than that, things are shut down.
Grocery
okay?
stores are open in the United States.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Yes, I know that. That's what I'm saying.
The grocery stores will probably stay open in the
And-
United
Right,
States.
and
And-
the people
and
in
the
the town
pharmacies.
hall are sequestered in separate rooms. They're all in separate offices.
I share an office with the building inspector and my secretary.
Pam
Kim shares
shares
an office
you.
with the town,
Yeah.
the administrative assistant in HR.
I don't
Kim
see.
shares an office.
But you're not
She
within-
shares
you're
an
not
All right,
within
office.
Mark,
2
Mark,
feet of one
Mark.
another.
You're not part of this
Can I ask you a
discussion.
question
No,
about
no,
the,
you're
about
not
the
part of
police
the discussion.
department? Are we gonna shut down the building of the new police department? Because
They
there's
will-
25 contracts.
they-
that we're
they
gonna
will-
have.
Mark,
discussions-
hold on,
Well, yeah.
hold on.
Okay,
If
let's
you're not
calm down,
if you're not
calm
gonna
down.
if you're gonna become part of the discussion, you're out the door, Mark. Okay, I'm not.
You're gonna physically pick me up and put me out
I
the
will.
door?
I will.
Good luck, because you'll be in jail. You'll be
Right.
sequestered.
Yeah, right. I'm not gonna have this discussion. I have the power.
Charlie, you're not
I have
getting
the
it
power
your way,
to,
so
to
you're
tell
getting
you.
upset. You're not getting everything you want, so you're getting upset.
No, I'm not gonna have you as part of the discussion. All right, George. I don't see the reason that we wouldn't allow these people to be away from potential infection. Okay, for what reason? For 2 weeks? I don't see the issue.
Let's just,
All right.
let's go on.
All right,
Let's
all right,
ju-
George,
it
then
is
I'm
what it
gonna make, I made a motion, you know, I'm asking for a second to follow the direction of the governor in whatever he, deems is pertinent. That's my motion. Follow his direction.
Well, I don't think I can vote on something that
George, if the governor who has declared a state of emergency, this says that all public buildings, offices that are not essential, such as dealing with public safety, are to be closed, then I would recommend that we close them. I don't think it needs further discussion.
but we are an essential department.
I do not see where tax collection is a essential activity for the next two weeks. Nor do I think building inspection. Nor do I think assessors, anything like that. When it comes to public safety employees and potentially highway employees, at least for you know, some circumstances, I see that, but not as to people who are doing tax collection or town records or anything like that.
Mr. Chairman?
Well,
Yes.
how would you feel?
Okay. Lisa just mentioned that if we need a tie-breaking vote, she will come down.
I think she needs to come down.
You wanna go into recess until she arrives?
She can she do it remotely?
Yes.
Okay, why don't she just come on remotely?
You recall. Hello. Do you mind if we put you on speaker? Okay. Just a moment. Alright, here you go. Can you hear us, Lisa?
Yes.
Okay.
Lisa, after discussion with George, who feels that town hall should remain open, at least to have town employees come to work, I have made a motion that we follow the governor's directive in whatever he should declare is appropriate in relation to opening and staying open with non-essential, those non-essential being basically public works, public safety employees and highway if and when needed. So that's my motion.
So I haven't heard the governor say that yet, so I have no idea where that is coming from. So I have several thoughts on this. I don't think we should force anybody to go to work, especially if they're not feeling well. But there are no cases in Freetown right now that I know of, and I feel like, what is our plan? How long are we going to stay closed? Do people have any work that they have to get done to bring home or anything like that? I mean, I don't know any other town halls that are closing either. That's my other question. Is there any other town halls? I know closing it to the public is probably a smart idea, but are there any other town halls closing?
There are 2 or 3 of them that I'm aware of.
Near us?
Plimpton, Easton.
Yeah, that's not. I don't think that that's near us. I think we should really wait for the rest of the week to play out. And I think that sure, if things get more hairy, and then we can readdress it. But I have not heard the governor say close town halls. I have not heard that. So, and I don't know of any cases. And I mean, we do practice social distancing, saying everybody has their own office and is not really close by to one another. But certainly if people feel leery of going to work, or certainly if they're not feeling good, we don't want them there. But I mean, I don't, that's how I feel right now.
All right, just to make sure that we have a clarification, we're clear on this. My motion is that we follow whatever directive the governor has made or makes in the future in relation to it. That was my motion. So we're not, having to scramble and have some type of meeting to close town hall if that should come.
Who else is there? Is George there?
George is on FaceTime.
Oh, what is he saying?
What I'm saying, Lisa, is pretty much what you just said. I think we should close town hall to the public, but allow employees to come in and do their work, and that would allow the public to phone town hall and get some of their issues taken care of maybe that way. And then I would want to know, excuse me, after the fact, what else is going on in the state? What is the governor recommending? Who's closing what offices and under what circumstances, and so forth. Actually, I think what we might want to do right now, today, because we're at an impasse here, is to reconvene this meeting in a few days, pick a date, after we do a little more information gathering from the State House as to what the actual recommendations are. I mean, the recommendations that are out there are all over the place. You can have 25 people at a meeting, or you can have 25 people in a whatever, or it's not very, very clear as to what is allowable, so to speak, or what is recommended. I think I'd like to get some more information before I vote on any of this.
Yeah, you sound almost like you have a cold, so I'm glad that you're not there.
Thank you.
I think that definitely, I think the first step should be we should close it to the public starting tomorrow. I definitely think that, and I think it is premature to close town hall altogether. I mean, maybe we look at this on Friday and we talk about this again on Friday. But I think we should close town hall to the public right now.
Well, if you make that a motion, I'll second it, Lisa.
All right, then I'm going to make a motion to close town hall to the public immediately.
I'll second that.
Okay. My only thing is, I think that we should be doing more. I will agree to the point that at least that's a step in the right direction. I don't think it is stepping farther enough in the right direction, but I'll concur with that, at least for
yeah,
that
Charlie,
part.
I think we should look. It's Monday, right? And things are changing hourly, so
Right.
I think that we should leave it open as to if we have to have an emergency meeting, just like we're doing right now, and the governor says, whatever, or the state house is closed or whatever. But I don't think we should shut down our government right now. I think that, let them go to work. What if we get mandated to shut down for 3 weeks? Let them just go in now and get some of the work done and prepare, because we don't have a plan, right? So prepare as if we're going to shut down for 3 weeks. But let's let them work for the rest of the week. And if something drastic changes, you can always call a meeting.
Okay, just so we don't beat this to death, I'll call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Let's do a roll call vote.
Ms. Pacheco,
Yes.
Mr. Grunwald,
Yes.
Mr. Sullivan, yes. Okay, the other issue that we need to discuss, and especially since, though it's been reduced, originally it was 25 people, no more than 25 people at a gathering. Now, the latest from the infectious control is 10. The discussion about the annual town election, and since you're both here, I'm going to recuse myself. Okay, just so you know, Jackie is here to answer any questions that you may have that she can answer. So I'll leave that discussion for you two.
I'd like to hear Jackie's opinion on this.
Well, it has come up that we've all been informed that we can act on this if we wanted to postpone the election. I'll go and work with whatever way the board decides. But this has come up. We've been in contact today with Kopelman and Page that they drew together an act that other towns might be using if they want to decide to postpone their election. I did talk to Lakeville, the town clerk in Lakeville, where we both have the regional school committee members on there, and we vote on each other's members. We normally will have the election on the same day so that we could declare who the winner is, because it's based on the total vote of the two towns for that position, or those positions. It sounds like they are gonna go with their April 6th date. I know they have a Prop 2.5 question on there for repairs on Route 79, and I believe they are kind of, have to get the election done in order to get grant money and everything, so that might be part of their decision to go forward with the April date. So it sounds like they are, in talking with the town clerk from Lakeville, that they're gonna be going with that date. So we do have that option, so I did bring it before the board because I didn't know if they would want to reconsider postponing it or whether they want to go forward with the April 6th date. There's some certain steps that the governor has put in place to make that available, and that the board tonight would vote to go forward to file special legislation with the governor for him to act on our behalf, to submit special legislation to postpone it. And then there'd be a second vote for the board to vote on postponing the election. So if that is done tonight, then we can move forward and postpone it, or we can go forward with the date we have. We have already printed up the ballots. They're in the process now. We, in fact, today received the absentees. That wouldn't be a problem because the special act would let us still use those ballots, so it would not be an extra cost. In addition, it would also allow people to early vote at a special town election, which right now there's no provision for that. But it would allow them to early vote by mail if they decided to early vote by mail, which is different than absentee voting. That is another option that's inside that special act. Basically, what the special act would say is that we could postpone the election until
A date certain.
the last part of the fiscal year. And if the Board of Selectmen, along with the police and fire, felt that at that time, it was still a dangerous situation, you could actually go into the next 2 months of the next fiscal year. With that said, what would happen is anybody that's currently elected would continue their positions until that next election. So that basically is a little bit of an option that the Board of Selectmen has. And like I said, I'll work with whatever way we can go. If we do go with the April one, we'll have to put some measures in place because again, the people that are most vulnerable are the people that will be working the election. our people, that love working the elections, our warden, our clerk, our clerks, our, election workers are usually, definitely over 70, most of them are over 70. So we would have to put some provisions in place for them, maybe put a barrier in front where, people checking in and checking out aren't so close to the tables. If we have some hand sanitizer nearby, different things, we'd have to think of putting some different things into place.
Jackie, when do we have to make this decision by?
Well, the thing is, we already have the final voter registration tomorrow, so the sooner, of course, the better, because if we were going to act on this, and they're asking you do it as soon as possible, because it will take time to go to the governor and all, we wouldn't have that final voter registration tomorrow, it would be postponed. Because what's gonna happen, say you postpone the election, you would have to post the ballot and the new date 20 days before the election and have a final voter cut off 10 days before instead of the 20 days that we have now. So we don't, tomorrow is the 20th day, so that doesn't give you a lot of time in order to do this, and for the governor to sign off on the special act and everything. So that's why, it was being brought up tonight with your emergency meeting.
How do we feel as far as the safety of the election workers? I mean, it's kind of a difficult question to answer. Does anybody have any opinions on that?
Can you say that again, George? What?
What I'm trying to ascertain here is what kind of risk are the election workers subjected to in the way we have it set up? And is there anything that we could do to mitigate any of that risk?
Jackie,
Well, I mean,
is there a way to promote early voting or going in and voting?
No, right now, you cannot, for a local election, the law does not provide early voting, only for state elections. The Secretary of State's office, we've been getting emails every day, even from them, just like KP Law. And right now, they are trying to pass special legislation to allow early voting by mail. They don't want people coming into the town halls and stuff. In fact, I think that's how I ended up getting sick, was when we had early voting for the primary, I ended up with a cold, I ended up with laryngitis, I'm just getting over it. So I've been on different medications and stuff myself, and it's from all the people that have been coming in and everything. So they don't want people coming in to early vote, but they might allow it by mail. So right now, there's no provision, but the Secretary of State's office is trying to get some legislation again to go through, even for everybody to be able to do that. But as it's set right now, we cannot do it. With this special act, if you postpone it, the special act that we would be requesting would allow for that to be done. But right now for April 6th, it's not in place, but the Secretary of State's office is trying to get it in place.
And would you be cutting back on your election workers? Or?
You can't. You have to have, you're required to have at the check-in 2 people, at the checkout 2 people, a warden and a clerk, at each precinct. Where we have all 3 precincts together at the school, the only thing we could do is have 1 warden, but that would only eliminate 2 people. All the other people are required to be there, so there's 18 people, 18 workers working, not including the town clerk. And that's almost required, like I said, you could get away with 2 less, but that's it. All these election workers, like I said, they're all in their 70s and 80s. They love working the elections. But, this is a different situation that I might have a hard time getting the workers to come in because of the situation. But if they did come in, we would have to try and do the best we could. Again, even the Secretary of State's office, even the vendors are sending us things of what we could do to make our election workers safer by giving them sanitizer, plastic gloves, again, putting barriers between them and the people coming in. Even at the primary, we had Clorox wipes that we were wiping down the booths and the pens every so often as people were coming in to try and eliminate things from happening.
Right. I mean, so I guess I would want you to make the decision. The reason why I say that is because you know more or less what's involved. I hate the idea of postponing the election, especially since, you know, we are so close with Lakeville and they're not doing it. So I think I would just go according to your recommendation. But like I said, there are a lot of things that we have to put in place before we can even do that, I guess.
Yeah, and it's a hard decision to make, because you don't know if matters are gonna be worse, or if that level will come down, as far as the level of, you know, with all these measures they're trying to put in place, that they're trying to bring that level down of people getting infected. You think it's not gonna get better, it will get worse. So
yeah, that's my other thing too. I think after April vacation, it's going to start getting worse. So is it better to have it before April vacation? I don't know.
That's a good point. But Jackie, how do you feel about the safety clothing and gloves? You know, the healthcare workers use gowns and gloves and masks and all of that. Would that make you feel more comfortable doing it, and for your staff?
Well, definitely anything we could get would be helpful. Like, again, I know they say keep your hands washed and everything. In discussion with my son, who does research on MRSA and SARS and all that stuff, he says it's actually a respiratory thing. So if anything, it's usually people sneezing or coughing that you're inhaling. So if you can have masks for the workers and gloves, anything we can get, definitely, maybe have, if we can find hand sanitizers, have it available for even the voters coming in and stuff. Any measures we can take to add to this, to help with the safety of the workers, would greatly be appreciated.
Well, I think maybe we should pursue that, because if we postpone it, I mean, we can only postpone it so long, and there's no guarantee that this
Things will get better, yeah. No, there's
is
no
going
guarantee.
to be gone.
No.
So,
yeah, like I said, I think it's going to get worse after April vacation. Right now, we have all the kids at home, you know what I mean? So they're not passing it around. So maybe it is better to just move forward with it.
yeah, and make sure that we get the safety gear for all your staff.
Mm-hmm. Again,
I would also talk to your people too, just to make sure that you're going to have enough people to be there.
yeah, well, even for the primary, it was hard because a lot of people are in Florida right now, the elderly, so we were limited, but, yeah, no, we'll have to find out.
Okay, so we're not going to take any action, correct?
Well, I would like the board to vote whether to move forward with the election date or to postpone it.
Well,
Well,
if
what is your recommendation?
Like I said, I would work either way. Whichever
Well,
the
let's
board
go
decides.
With
It's an option
doing
that's
it on
available,
time
so
and
it's up to.
not changing the date, and making sure that we have every safety precaution and infection control method online for your staff.
Hospitals are having a shortage of finding masks, so I don't know how we're gonna find masks when the hospitals can't find them right now.
Well, then how about we postpone this vote for a few days or whatever is reasonable, so you can find out whether any of this is available. Because if it's not available, you can't expose
Well,
the election workers to.
I don't think we need to, George,
hundreds of
I don't
people.
think we need to delay, because if we can't get the mask, I mean, we have to have the election either now or later. So, whether we can get the mask or not, I think we need to go forward one way or another. I know on Amazon and stuff, there's a lot of things on there. I don't know if it's available through there. But I could even check myself to see.
How many masks and gowns would you need?
Well, I don't know if we need gowns, but maybe the gloves and the masks would be probably. See, there's 18 people at one given time. Sometimes there's different shifts, so you don't want the same mask being used by somebody else.
Oh,
So
no, that's.
Yeah, so I'm saying you would probably need about 36 if you figured if there was 2 shifts. So it is quite a few masks.
All right, so should we postpone this decision until we know whether or not we can get safety gear?
I think Jackie said that she just needed to know today one way or the other. I mean, my daughter works at the hospital, so I can see if she can get us some masks. They haven't said that there's a shortage there yet, so let me check with her, and let's get us everything that we can and what we need. I mean, I saw people walking around Market Basket the other day with masks on, so they got to be around.
I mean, I would recommend masks and gowns and gloves for, not 100% protection, but probably 98%. To be really safe, particularly at the age of the workers. We really have to make sure that they're well protected.
I do still think, Jackie, you need to poll your staff and see if they're gonna work, because they might not want to work.
Yeah, well, we already had the wardens have already told me they're already making calls, but that was a week ago. And as we get closer to the date, like I said, if things get worse, they might say yes now and change their mind the week before. That happened the primary, the morning of. I had 2 people that got sick and couldn't show up. So it's going to be, whether they say yes now, it's going to be in, 2.5, 3 weeks? It might be different by that time. But they are already calling the workers.
Okay.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
I've been watching closely on these masks. I use them for work. You're not going to get any masks, number one. And number two, you can't wear them for very long because they get damp and they're useless. So I would say on the masks.
Thank you.
So is the board, can I ask what the board's decision will be? Should we go forward with the date is set?
I'm so torn. I really am, Jackie. Half of me says I think you should just move forward and do it sooner rather than later, and then part of me doesn't want to put your workers at risk any more than they are by going out in the real world. So I'm torn. I guess I'm looking for direction from you.
I mean, I feel pretty much the same way. There is no good answer here. So I would prefer that you told us what you thought would be best for your staff, and I would go along with that.
I wish I could see the future, so I could give
know.
you a
That's all of
definite
us.
answer.
Yeah.
So I'll make a motion to have Jackie maybe do some more research tomorrow. And if you feel that you want to postpone it, then by all means, I'm fine with that. If you want to have it go forward, I'm fine with that too. So that would be my motion.
I'll second that.
Motion made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Ms. Pacheco?
Yes.
Mr. Grunwald?
Yes.
Mr. Sullivan abstains.
Could I just add one thing?
Yes.
While this meeting's been going on, I finally got the numbers for today.
Uh-huh.
We're up 60 cases from yesterday, so we're up to 197 cases total throughout the state. Plymouth County is up to 3 confirmed, and Bristol County is up to 2 confirmed.
Thank you, Derek.
Those are as of about 45 minutes ago.
Great. So the more tests that they do, the more the numbers are going to increase. That's just a given. So the best we can do is try to stay as prepared as we can. You guys all set with me now?
I'll accept the motion. I guess we'll accept the motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion made,
Second.
seconded. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye.